Yeah, well, pornography is huge, obviously, and it's just rampant at the moment because it's so easily accessible by everyone. And this is something we wanted to speak specifically to parents too about. We're going to talk more about internet stuff a little bit later, but pornography on the internet is so easily accessible, and that's a bit of a risk too. Not saying, and again, we're not saying this so you freak out and throw away all the computers in your household, just so that you can be aware that pornography is so easily accessible. Most phones these days have internet connections, so you can just get it anywhere. It'll be at school, it'll be on your phone, it'll be on the computer, it'll be on your iPad, whatever you've got, on your TV and the ads. So the problem is that it's so easily accessible and it's so easy to get sucked into. Probably more so for guys than for girls. But yeah, like we believe completely as Christians that pornography is wrong biblically, but also, sociologically, whatever the word is, psychologically, it damages your mind and it damages your growth and stuff like this. So it is something that we do need to be careful of and be aware of, and not hide under the rug, not pretend it doesn't happen, because the truth is that it does happen. The truth is that 90%, or I don't know what percent, most of the teenagers, most of your friends' teenagers are getting right into it and stuff. So.
Wow.
There's some, pages of statistics. I was just in shock just reading through some of this stuff of pornography and just the effects that it has. And it's interesting that even there's a book called Pornland, and it's written by a non-Christian author, and it's just the effects of pornography on society. And she's not a Christian, and she recognises what it's doing to the men, what it's doing to the women, how much it's degrading, what it's the connection and the link that it has with violence and sexual violence is just insane. It's not a good thing. Just going through a couple of the statistics, worldwide pornography, the revenue in 2006 was $97 billion. It's insane. Every second, $3,000 is being spent on pornography. Every second, 28,258 internet viewers are viewing pornography. Every second, 372 internet users are typing in adult search terms. And every 39 minutes, a new pornographic video is made. It's just a continual cycle of evil.
Yeah, and this next one's scary too. 79% of youth are exposed to pornography unwanted. So, you could have little angels and stuff, but the truth is that it just jumps out. It's just everywhere. So
tell us some ways that happens.
Yeah, well, 80% of kids, they could be playing on their club. This is, and this isn't just teenagers too, high school age. We're talking about kids as well. A lot of your kids will probably be on the internet playing Club Penguin or whatever they play. They play some silly games and stuff. But, easily accessible from those sites is other sites that aren't so...
You mean like links and things?
So 26 popular children's characters such as Pokemon, My Little Pony, Action Man, stuff like that, have thousands of links to porn sites.
Seriously?
So they purposefully use things like Barbie and stuff like that to link.
So if they type in Barbie for a game, they come up.
You pretty much can't type in anything. I know I was in Kim's class and we had the interactive whiteboard up, and we typed in McDonald's to get Ronald McDonald up, and porn stuff come up, and I've just had to put myself in front of the screen because you can't type in anything without something coming up. It's just crazy. So creators of porn sites purposely use stuff like Barbie and My Little Pony and Action Man to hook youth and especially children in.
It's the same with the internet. You're saying everyone can get through the internet. Kids are playing on the internet. Your phones. There's a lot of programs out there you can get that can stop that stuff. But of course they can go to their friends and stuff like that. But, I know there's programs even for phones and computers. I think one's called a CX3 or something. And they're things that you can put apps or whatever or put it on your... And then what happens is if anyone accesses a site, even if they type in teenage, right, it'll send an email to your described person who you put on to keep you accountable. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's heaps of different stuff out there that you guys can look into. Like Net Nanny is probably the biggest one for the internet.
It's good.
It just traces and follows everything that could even have the hint of being inappropriate. And that's not to say that your kid's purposefully doing it, but...
And I think that's exciting. And also we as parents need to be able to say, well, if you want a phone, this is what you got to have. Or you want to be on the net in your room. I think being in your computer in your room is pretty dangerous, don't you think? It should be in the public.
Yeah, definitely. We've got that as one of our things, like what access does your teenager have to the internet after hours? Like, is your computer off in a study that's in a separate room that the door can be closed in and they can be by themselves? Or is it in a public place where everyone's seeing? And does their phone have internet access? And if so, is it with them all night? Can they be doing and searching stuff? And it's a pretty scary world out there, and our youth are probably going to hate us after we talk about all this stuff. But it's true, and it's scary, and it's because we love you guys and want to protect you from the scariness of 9 out of 10 children aged between 8 and 16 have viewed pornography on the internet. 9 out of 10. And that's not necessarily purposefully, but it's flashed up on another site, or an ad's flashed up, or... Yeah. So this pornogaphy too can actually get you to act differently than you normally would. Definitely. We've got a quick video, 3-minute video of, I don't know if anyone's heard of Ted Bundy. Mike, do you want to talk a bit more about this guy?
I don't know heaps about him, but he was a real dodgy dude anyway.
He's a serial killer. He started with just porn, and then he went on to fantasize about raping and doing that. Then it got worse, didn't it? And then he followed girls, and he killed them or something. Yeah,
he killed something about 33 women and young girls, and he goes on to talk about how this is directly linked to his addiction to pornography.
Yeah. He was in maximum security prison, but waiting for his decision whether he's going to get a death sentence or not, death penalty. And I think the decision was that he was going to get the death penalty. What's his name?
James
Dobbs interviewed him, didn't he?
The night before he was executed.
Let's put that up and have a quick look. And
those of us who have been so much influenced by violence in the media, in particular pornographic violence, are not some kinds of inherent monsters. We are your sons and we are your husbands. And we grew up in regular families. And pornography can reach out and snatch a kid out of any house today. He snatched me out of my home. It snatched me out of my home 20, 30 years ago. And as diligent as my parents were, and they were diligent in protecting their children, and as good a Christian home as we had, and we had a wonderful Christian home, there is no protection against the kinds of influences that are loose in the society that tolerates.
You feel this really deeply, don't you? Ted, outside these walls right now, there are several hundred reporters that wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you asked me to come here from California because you had something you wanted to say. This hour that we have together is not just an interview with a man who's scheduled to die tomorrow morning. I'm here and you're here because of this message that you're talking about right here. You really feel that hardcore pornography and the doorway to it, softcore pornography, is doing untold damage to other people and causing other women to be abused and killed the way you did others.
Listen, I'm no social scientist, and I haven't done a survey. I mean, I don't pretend that I know what John Q. Citizen thinks about this. But I've lived in prison for a long time now. And I've met a lot of men who were motivated to commit violence just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography, without question, without exception, deeply influenced and consumed by an addiction to pornography. There's no question about it. The FBI's own study on serial homicide shows that the most common interest among serial killers is pornography.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's real. It's true.
Ted, what would your life have been like without that influence? you can only speculate.
Yeah. Well, I know it would have been far better, not just for me, and it's, excuse me for being so self-centered here. It would have been a lot better for me and lots of other people. I know that, lots of other innocent people, victims and families. It would have been a lot better. There's no question, but that it would have been a fuller life, certainly a life that would not have involved, I'm absolutely certain, would not have involved this kind of violence that I have committed.
I'm sure, Ted, if I were able to ask you the questions that are...
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? So.
Yeah, it's crazy what pornography can lead to. And he goes on to say that it's not like everyone who views pornography is going to be a serial killer or rapist, but the people that are susceptible to it and that do get into hardcore addictions and can't go without it and have a susceptibility to that can go on to stuff like that.
It leads you up to higher. You're not getting the same kicks. I suppose it's like drugs. You go to a deeper drug and deeper, and then that's what happened with him, apparently. You've got 2 stories there.
Yeah. So these are 2 stories from young kids in America of an 11-year-old boy, Josh, had been looking at graphic, violent porn on the internet for 20 minutes immediately before stabbing an 8-year-old girl to death. And then a 13-year-old boy was in the Phoenix library viewing porn on the internet. He followed a 4-year-old into the bathroom and asked the younger boy to give him oral sex. So the pornography that's real on our internet is corrupting our young people and corrupting not only young people but everyone. It's a vicious cycle of...
So we're running out of time. Talk about the emails and that. People are setting up private emails you're finding with youth these days. Where can we stop that? What happens with that?
Yeah, so talking about stuff with pornography and emails and SMSs and stuff, another massive problem, you probably heard it on the news and stuff, is sexting. In case you don't know what sexting is, that's sending texts of yourself in no clothes or hardly any clothes. There's a huge epidemic spreading as well at the moment, even in primary schools, which is insane. This is something that we need to be really careful and aware of, because the people that are doing this, the kids that are doing this, they're actually committing a federal offence, creating child pornography and distributing child pornography.
And receiving child pornography if you're the recipient. And this, it was on 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if anyone saw it, but if you take a picture of yourself and you send it, you're charged with making and distributing, you're charged with receiving and possession, and then you're labelled as a sex offender for life.
Yeah, because you don't even know where it's going. So you might even send it to a friend, but then a kid gets it or gets forwarded on throughout the world, eh?
What was it? 55% of those who are past the images say that they send it to someone other than the intended recipient. So it doesn't just stay with who gets it. It goes on to their friends and their friends, or on the internet. And once it's on the internet, it never comes back. It's always out there, no matter if you delete it.
Wow.
So this is a crazy craze that's going on at the moment.
Yeah, the problem with Facebook these days, sites with Facebook and stuff as well, is that if any of this stuff does go on, it's so easy for everyone to get access to this kind of stuff. And like Rach said, once it goes on the net, it doesn't come off. And we were going to talk about Facebook a little bit, just that, because I know it's a little bit of a new thing. We've just got a Facebook page ourselves at church, which is great.
Yep.
So Facebook isn't an evil thing, but it can be easily abused. And Facebook is accessible so easily by everyone here too. So we just want parents to be aware of that. Try and have some conversation with your kids about what their internet activity is.